Shalom. All praises, blessings, glories, and honors to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Quadash. Double honors to my elder apostles and bishop elders of Great Millstone, who have taught me this truth, as well of men of like mind. Shalom wa chasad, which means peace and mercy, to the elect of the nation of Israel, whom are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and Israelite foreigners of the seed line of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom are scattered here in America, which is Babylon the Great, and abroad. To you I say Shalom, and Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Ratazah. This lesson is edifying and informative. What does St. Matthew 23 verse 25 mean? It reads, Woe, which means destruction, unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess. What does for ye make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess means? In order for us to answer and understand what this means, we must first read St. Mark chapter 7 verse 4 through 8 and research and find out why, except they wash, they eat not. Why did they wash before they eat? And why didn't they wash before they ate? This is St. Mark chapter 7 verse 4, and I'll read through verse 8. And when the they is referring to the wicked scribes and Pharisees, come from the market, except they wash, they eat not. And many other things there be, which they have received to hold, as the washing of cups and pots, brazen vessels, and of tables. Then the Pharisees and scribes asked who? Our Lord Yahweh Shai, why walk not thy disciples according to the tradition of the elders, but eat bread with the unwashen hands? He answered and said unto them, Well had Isaiah prophesied of you hypocrites, as it is written, This people honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me, because the wicked scribes and Pharisees were hypocrites. On the outside, they had appeared to be men of the Lord, but within they were wicked and corrupt, evil. Howbeit, in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. For laying aside the commandment of Yahweh, ye hold the tradition of men, as the washing of pots and cups. So their holding of the tradition of men were as the washing of pots and cups, and many other such like things ye do. Now we can research and examine what except they wash, they eat not. Because remember, the Pharisees and scribes that asked our Lord, Why walk not thy disciples according to the tradition, of the elders, but eat bread with unwashing hands? Because before they ate bread, according to tradition, they had to had first wash their hands, right? Now let's find out what this meant. This is from the Bible Hub, which is a very powerful tool that Ella Apostle Tahar and the rest of the Ella Apostles and Bishop Elders use. Elder brothers on down. But I've seen Ella Apostle Tahar use this tool very often in his lessons, and the Spirit had inspired me after I'd woken up earlier to go into this tool as I was studying the scriptures. Now, what does except they wash mean? The Greek verb differs from that in the previous verse and implies the washing or immersion. The verb is that from which our word baptism comes to us, of the whole body, as the former does of parts. The idea on which the practice rested was not one of the cleanliness or health, or cleanliness or health, but of arrogant exclusiveness, fastening, on the thought of ceremonial purity. They might have come in the crowd of the market into passing contact with a Gentile, and his touch was so defiling as if it had been that of a corpse. So too, the washing of cups and the like was because they might have been touched by heathen and therefore impure lips. And this is why they held that tradition of washing their hands before eating. Because except they wash, they eat not. Right? And by the way, remember that the Jews in Jerusalem had despised the Israelite foreigners, especially those that had spoken Greek. Okay? And they had considered them to be Gentiles or heathen. But then you also have Israelite foreigners that didn't know that they were Israelites, yet they spoke the different languages of the heathen, and these were known as Helen. But then you had Israelite foreigners that knew that they were Israelites, and these are called Hellenistas or Grecians. You can do your research on that. There is a difference between Hellen or Hellenist and Grecian or Hellenistas. Okay? So real brief, now we know why they held this tradition of washing their hands before eating. Because at that time, the wicked and hypocritical scribes and Pharisees had believed that they might have come in the crowd of the market into passing contact with a Gentile, and his touch was as defiling, as if it had been that of a corpse. You could also refer to the law concerning a dead body, the touching of a dead body. So too, the washing of cups, And the like was because they might have been touched by heathen and therefore impure lips. And now we can go to St. Matthew, as we had left off earlier, chapter 23, verse 25, which again reads, "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, and these are the words of our Lord Yahweh Shai, hypocrites! For ye make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess." Now, what does the outside of the cup and platter mean? The latter word in the Greek indicates what we should call a side dish, as distinct from the charger of Matthew 14, verse 11. The outside includes the inner surface. As regards the practice, Mark chapter 7, verse 4, and we just read about that practice, where before they would have had eaten, they would have had first washed their hands, because it felt that while being in the marketplaces, they would have came in contact with a heathen, with a Gentile, as they would with a corpse or a dead body, and that would defile them. Therefore, they would wash their hands before eating, before handling, food. And obviously, if the food is stored inside of cups and platters, right, are full of extortion and excess. The two words point, one, to the source from which the vines and the wine came, the cup and the platter were filled with, are out of the proceeds of extortion. That to which they tended, they overflowed with unstrained self-indulge. And the wicked scribes and Pharisees were overflowing themselves with unrestrained self-indulgence and extortion and wickedness. Okay, now to get some further insight, this is from Barnes' Notes on the Bible commentary. The cup and the platter. The drinking cup and the dish containing food. The Pharisees were diligent in observing all the washings and oblations required by their traditions. See the notes at Mark chapter 7, verse 4. Full of extortion and excess. The outside appeared well. The inside was filled with fruit of extortion, oppression, and wickedness. So guess what? They were supposed to wash the cups, the platter, the things that, would contain the food, the dish, right? And these wicked Pharisees and Sadducees were likened unto cups and platters, which on the outside they appear clean because they were supposed to wash it, including their hands before they eat. But the inside of it was full of excess, uncleanness, wickedness, extortion. The outside appeared well. The inside was filled with the fruit of extortion, oppression, and wickedness. The meaning is that though they took much pains to appear well, yet they obtained a living by extortion and crime. Their cups, neat as they appear outward, were filled not with the fruits of honest industry, but with that which had been extorted from the poor by wicked arts. Instead of excess, many manuscripts and editions, of the Greek Testament read wickedness. And that is why our Lord Yahushua had likened these wicked scribes and Pharisees unto cups and platters that appear to be clean on the outside, but within they are full of extortion and excess. Within, these wicked Pharisees and Sadducees were filled with dead men's bones. Okay? So, again, to summarize what we've learned in this lesson concerning except they wash, they eat not, we learned that this means that the idea on which the practice rested was not one of cleanliness or health, but of arrogant exclusiveness, fastening on the thought of ceremonial purity. They might have come in the crowd of the market because they were always in the agora, into passing contact with a Gentile, and his touch was as defiling as if it had been that of a corpse. So too, the washing of cups and the like was because they might have been touched by heathen and therefore impure lips. And now, we also know, in regards to St. Matthew 20, please bear with me 1 second. 23 verse 25. What the outside of the cup, of the platter, and are full of extortion and excess means. To summarize it straight to the point, again, it means the cup and the platter, drinking cup and the dish containing food. The Pharisees were diligent in observing all the washings and obligations required by their traditions. Again, it references St. Mark chapter 7 verse 4. Full of extortion and excess. The outside appeared well, so these wicked scribes and Pharisees, on the outside they appeared well. The inside was filled with the fruit of extortion. Okay? Oppression and wickedness. The meaning is that though they took much pains to appear well, yet they obtained a living by extortion and crime. Their cups, neat as they appear outside, because obviously they had to wash it, right? And the cup were they themselves, because the Lord likened them unto these same cups and platters which they would typically wash according to their tradition. But within they themselves were filled with extortion, oppression, and wickedness. Were filled not with the fruits of honest industry, but with that which had been extorted from the poor by wicked arts. Instead of excess, many manuscripts and editions of the Greek Testament read wickedness. Okay, and so with that, I will conclude this lesson. Lord's willing, it was edifying to the elect. Until the next, I say shalom.